Good morning, everybody. I'm Lisa Stone with Parenting Aces. I am joined by Dan Holman, the National Manager for Youth Tournaments at USTA. Dan, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Appreciate the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Well, I haven't seen you since December, so glad to see you still alive and well, and happy to have you on to answer some questions regarding USTA's 2021 tournament and ranking platform, which has been a bit of a nightmare so far this year.
Yep. Yeah. I appreciate you inviting me on. And just one thing I kind of want to say, just to kind of level set before we get started, is I'm here today to really do what I can to educate and to bring clarity to our consumers, and just want to let you know that the current landscape that we're in is very challenging. We migrated to a new digital system, a new junior tournament structure, all while during a pandemic, coupled with the fact that we didn't have a lot of national play last year, since last March, was kind of a perfect storm of sorts. So just want to kind of let you and everybody know that we're looking to move forward. We're aware of the frustrations, and we're looking to really do what we can to really build upon this and look to move forwards. So just wanted to say that.
Can I just start by asking you to share with everybody, how did USTA test this new platform before it launched in January? Because it seems to me and to a lot of others that we're being used as the beta test right now, and our kids are the ones suffering the consequences of that.
Right. Yep. So there was extensive testing through. We had a bunch of providers, and we did a bunch of testing during 2020. The reality is as if you migrate to any digital system, you're going to have some challenges, and some of the expectations and things that happened to us, we didn't fully expect. They happened, and we're aware of them, and we can't go back and apologize. We've done that. Again, our goal is, we're aware of them. The system, as it's rolled out in January, had some bumps and bruises, but as each week has progressed, there's been enhancements to it, and the system continually gets better and better and better as we progress. And we fully believe that it's going to be a really great tool for our consumers as each week goes by. So,
I mean, and you know this because we discussed it back in December, but the issue is that's all well and good for the kids just starting out, but for the kids nearing the end of their junior tennis career, this has been a real problem. They're trying to get into tournaments, they can't get in, they're trying to get seen by college coaches. We know, all of the recruiting issues going on, NCAA keeping everybody in a dead period. And so it's especially frustrating for those older players who are in the 16s and 18s, who are now either not showing up in the rankings at all, or their rankings so messed up they can't get into the big tournaments. And even if they do get in, they're not being seeded because of the rankings being so messed up. So I guess, let's start out by just saying, first of all, thank you to everybody who submitted questions. I got a gajillion questions. I kept forwarding them to Dan so that he could do a little research and be ready for today. But where I want to start is that my understanding is each section was told to tag 2020 tournaments to help with the conversion into the new system, but there was no consistency across the sections about how tournaments from 2020 were tagged. Therefore, kids from some sections were awarded higher ranking points than kids from other sections for the same level of event, which has skewed the rankings from the get-go in 2021. Is there a plan to kind of work backwards and correct that imbalance?
Yep. Yes, there is. So let me give you a little context here in terms of the mapping and the 2020 tournament. So what was done, as you know, and of all your readers and all the tennis parents know, is, we had 17 sections, multiple point tables in each section. In some sections, there were districts with multiple tables in there, different tournament names, all this stuff. So in an ideal situation, even with a full national junior tournament schedule, migrating from that old system to a new system, there was going to be disruption. So with the process we took was each section had certain guidelines and parameters, were certain levels within the regulations for them to map. We wanted to be sure that players had some play history and some skin in the game, so to speak, from their 2020 results. So it would be calculated into 2021 as opposed to just starting back at ground zero. So each section, we gave all the sections know their tournaments quite honestly better than we do,
Sure.
in terms of how they break down. So the sections went in and did what they could to map the levels as accordingly. And unfortunately, what happened is because of the lack of national play from March on with the levels 1, 2s, and 3s, it created a natural bottleneck, is what we found out. And again, a lot of that was unfortunately due to the pandemic. So again, our goal is, as each week has gone by and each month goes by, a lot of the sections are playing more. Some of the sections are opening up more. We're starting to get more national tournaments on the calendar. So as everybody gets in this new system, as each month goes by, our goal is that the rankings will become more and more true, more and more accurate, because now everybody will be under the same system. So that's our goal, what we're looking towards.
You mentioned national tournaments. A new L1 was just announced for May. However, it conflicts with national AP exams. This is not a new problem for USTA, where USTA has scheduled big events that conflict for kids who are attending brick and mortar school or who are, striving to achieve high levels academically. How did this happen again? I mean, this is really bad.
Yeah. So, our intention here and this goes back to your original comment about the 16s and 18-year-olds and the play opportunities and people not being able to get in these events. I think it's important to note that what we're trying to do is create as many play opportunities as we can on the national schedule. And I know the sections are doing the same as well. So for example, we doubled the number of February level 2s. We doubled that date block to create more play opportunities. We created that March event, and as opposed to spring team with 64 draws. We're having the Easter Bowl. We created this new May event, which I think it should be worth noting. This was in collaboration with our section partners, and with the members of the junior competition committee. And this was a way for us to empower the sections. We heard them loud and clear about players that might have been short-sighted because of the rankings that weren't able to get in some higher level events. So that's where this event came from. And quite honestly, with everything going on across the country with exams and graduations and all this other stuff, we felt like we really wanted to try and get that event on the calendar before our summer national championships, and that seemed to fit there on the calendar. So again, we hear you loud and clear. It's very hard for us to plan for everything going on, AP exams and everything. We want to provide play opportunities for our players and get the right players in those events to prepare them as much as we can for the summer swing, so to speak. So
I mean, I hear you, but AP exams, those dates are out a year in advance. Again, this is not the first time this has happened with USTA, and this is a big problem. I mean, already people are not happy with the rankings and the lack of play. And now on top of it, you schedule a major tournament on a week where kids are, taking this huge exam that's really important for their graduation and their college placement and all of that. And I mean, I get there's a lot going on, but come on.
Yep.
I can't let you off the hook that easy, Dan, with this one, because it's one of those things that it's published. This is one of the things that USTA should be checking before it's scheduling national events. And again, if this whole change had been rolled out one age group at a time, as I suggested almost 2 years ago, this may not be an issue right now, but it wasn't rolled out that way. It was rolled out across all age groups, and the older age groups are really being slammed by this.
Yep. Look, I mean, I understand and I hear you, and we'll take that feedback. Again, this event is in place now. It's there. This is the direction that we're headed for this year. It's something that we can continue to monitor and look at moving forwards. But again, our plan is to offer as many play opportunities and create avenues for our players where we can, and that's what we're trying to do. We had over 2,000 people apply for that March event for 512 draw spots. We had over 4,000 players apply for the March level threes this past weekend for 1,500 draw spots. So,
right.
Our
people are hungry for competition.
People are hungry. That's right.
Yeah.
They're hungry for competition. And so we are doing what we can to put national events on the schedule for them and have the consumer make their choices for these events. So we're creating avenues, as many avenues as we can for this year, and get us back on some regular cadence and a regular schedule as best we can. So
okay. All right. Well, moving on from that, because we could talk about that the whole half hour here. One parent reached out to me, sent me an email, and then followed up with a phone call saying that level 5 and level 6 tournaments have basically, they're just not existing. And that what this has done is it's wiped out kind of the middle class, if you will, of junior tennis. Those kids who aren't on a Division I or high level college pathway or a pro pathway, but are maybe, just like playing in their local communities or competing on their high school teams and are going to be tomorrow's league players and tennis parents moving forward. Can you talk about what's going on with scheduling and sanctioning events and how USTA determines who gets the sanctions and what level events are being offered?
Yep. Yeah, sure. Be happy to. So the way it works for nationally sanctioned events is, there's members in the National Junior Competition Committee, and there's a sanction schedule group that looks at everything and does things a couple of years out, with the exception of some of these new innovative tournaments that we're putting on that we're having to move quickly on. I would say the majority of our sections and districts have a similar type process where they have a committee, and ultimately the sections determine and districts determine where they put their tournaments and why and what facilities host. Some may have a bid process for their higher level sectional events. Some may not. So this is kind of a specific to the sections or districts. In terms of the level 5s and level 6s, this could be a byproduct depending on what's going on with COVID. I know some sections, depending on where you live in this country, are more open than others, and some facilities are more open than others, or private clubs. So I know that that's something that needs to be thought through. And as each month goes by, we're getting vaccinations, facilities are starting to open up more.
Right.
So these are things that I think is unfortunately is a byproduct of COVID that I think we need to be, as sections are beginning to open up more. They're putting tournaments where they can, where they deem appropriate, that are safe for our consumer, and that's something that I think we need to be aware of, and I know that we're continuing to work forwards towards. So
okay. Can you talk about the rankings for players who are playing up? Now there's a requirement that you play, I think, 1 or 2 events in the lower age group to maintain your current age group ranking, even if you're playing up in the next age group. Right. Why did that change?
Right. Yep. And we've gotten this question a lot, so I'm
sure.
very glad. I'm very glad to be able to have this opportunity to address this. Right. So this actually has not been a rule change. This has been this way for years. It should be worth noting that, again, going back to my original statement, this right here, in my opinion, is a byproduct of a lack of national junior tournament schedule from all of last year. So, for example, a lot of the higher ranked players in the sections would naturally play up an age group or 2 in their section events. And then for our premier, for the national championships, right, they would play down in their true age division.
Right.
So because that we didn't have any of those last year, what we have heard and what we have seen is a lot of people didn't even know that this was a rule because it was naturally happening. The anchor age division, a lot of our pros and parents didn't even know that it was a rule. And because of the lack of national play, it has now come that people think it was actually a new rule where it actually has not been. So the anchor division, that has always been in play. So again, this really is not really a rule and regulation issue. This is more of a pandemic with the lack of national play. So again, as we continue to open up and have these national events start to get on the schedule and these higher sectional events, this will start to work itself out as we move forwards as each month goes by. So,
except the problem is kids can't get into the national events now in their true age group.
Right. So again, this is why we introduced the new level 1 in May, for example, that is a 128 draw, that the sections are going to have the ability to send who they want. They have complete autonomy and control over these events.
Not based on a ranking list. They can just pick and choose.
They can
that's problematic in itself.
They can use an all factors. Well, they can use an all factors method. So the sections will be able to control and send who they want based upon a variety of reasons. So again, this is stuff that we're trying to do, and we're trying to leverage our wild cards where we can and get people, which we've done, to try and get the right people in these tournaments. And again, as these events go through the year and we get these events on the schedule, our goal is that things continue to work itself out as each month goes by. So
you mentioned wild cards. There's still no transparency around how wild cards work. We were promised transparency with this new system.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Help here, because this is the word was from you and from Lou Brewer back before the system took effect, was don't worry if your kid's ranking is messed up. We know who belongs in these events. We're going to make sure we award them wild cards and get them in. That's not happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wild cards have been brought to light because of the situation we're in. All right. So there have been a lot of wild cards that have been offered, and people have applied a lot more so than previous years because of what's going on, and rightfully so. And with the Easter Bowl, for example, we increased the number of wild cards there. Again, there are only so many wild cards that we can do. There's a wild card committee that we look at. They look at everything, and quite honestly, we only have so many wild card spots. So again, that May level 1 event is a big reason why that event was designed and put out there, for that very reason, for players who haven't been able to get in those other events, and that we want to be able to offer them another level 1 play opportunity before the summer national championship. So that is a big reason why that event was put on the calendar with a 128 draw, to really help and to try and combat that. Going back to your original comment about the 16s and 18s players, for those type players, that's where an event like that was created, and why that's there.
But AP tests. Really help. But AP tests.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
Agreed.
You don't get it both ways. You can't say it's for these players and then stick it on a week where they can't play because they've got AP exams that they've been working for. So I know this is a unique situation. I mean, who knew a pandemic was coming? But y'all knew before you launched this in January. We were already well into the pandemic. And it just, I keep, in my head, keep going back to, why in the world would you try to do this when all of these other factors have happened that are going to make it a disaster? And it's a big mess. I mean, and it's very frustrating for me, and I don't even have a kid playing, but I'm hearing from these families whose kids can't get into events, kids who are ranked well below them, who have UTRs well below their child, are being selected, they're being seeded. Kids that don't even really, belong at some of these higher level events, if the rankings were true to form, would never get in, are being seated in these events. And other kids who have been steady and at the top of the rankings, because, I know kids who have just completely disappeared from the rankings altogether. They don't even show up in the list and therefore can't get selected. And that's what the wild cards were supposed to be for, but that's not what they're being used for.
We hear you again. Our goal is to offer these play opportunities again with the AP exam. We're doing what we can to put opportunities out there. We're doing what we can to offer these nationally sanctioned events that were not on the calendar for all of last year. We're putting them out there. We're offering play opportunities. We're doing what we can to create avenues for our players, and we're doing everything we can to get our schedule out there and get people playing. And each week that goes by with the rankings, with the systems, the rankings are getting better, the system's getting better. So again, our goal is that, we believe Serve Tennis is going to be a fantastic product for our consumers. And we have to be sure that as each week goes by, that it improves and it gets better. And that's what we're striving towards. And that's what we're doing for our consumers. And quite honestly, that's what our consumer deserves. And we understand that there's frustration, and there should be frustration. And we hear it and we understand it. And again, we can't look in the past and say we should have done this. We're here. It's March 24th, and we have to do what we can to move forwards and to do what we can for our players. And I gave you some of those numbers. Our players want to play. They want to play. Our players want to play.
For sure.
And we need to do what we can to get people out on the court, and that's what we're striving to do. So
is there a plan to utilize UTR a bit more now that you're seeing how messed up this is? And UTR, seems to be at least a little more accurate for player selection and seeding.
Yep. So we understand that UTR is a valuable tool for our players, and
for your tournament directors.
For our tournament directors too, right? And for our providers. We also believe wholeheartedly in the points per round system. And the reality is we don't have a partnership with UTR. So we're supporting them and giving them accurate information. But at this time, we believe in the points per round, and that's the direction we're headed. And that's what we're going to continue to do so at this time. So.
What about the tournament platform itself? We've seen several tournament directors revert to using TennisLink because the new tournament platform just wasn't working for them. What's happening with getting those bugs worked out?
Yep. So again, when we rolled it out in January with the tournament platform, the system, again, as each week has gone by, if you look at our customer care center, as the number of calls that have come in, the volume is dropping down, right? In January, February, it was higher and it's going down. So again, the system's continually getting enhanced as each week comes on. If you could think about, a software system on an iPhone or something, it continually updates, and that's what our system's doing. So again, our goal is, I think a lot of that, unfortunately for us, is with our providers is, the initial push in the first couple of weeks were rocky. So again, it's our job to really earn the trust back of them. And as each week goes by, get them back and integrate it in the system and believe in it. Because the system right now, as of March 24th, versus the system in the middle of January, has grown a lot and has developed a lot. And so that's our job to be sure that it continues to build out. So the system is in a much better shape than it was in January. I can tell you that, as of today.
And I mean, I don't need to comment on this, but it just kind of begs the question, why weren't all of these things in place when you launched in January? Because, you've seen the impact on the consumer end, and, it's been a big mess. I sent you a bunch of questions that have to do with kind of the way rankings appear online. And I don't really want to go into all that because I feel like you can just email me responses and I can put those in the article on parentingaces.com when we post this Q&A. But one thing I do want to ask you, because I've gotten asked by multiple people, is are there plans in the works for a USTA app to work alongside the new platform like you had with the prior platform?
Yep. And I want to address that other question about the rankings and some of those enhancements just real quickly. So we have a goal at the end of early May, early April. A lot of that functionality and a lot of those questions you sent with the player profiles and what you can see and being able to click on the rank list and be able to see that, you know, what Lisa Stone played and then what her record is. A lot of that functionality we're tracking for around that time frame to really help.
But we were told it was going to be in place by March 1.
Yeah. So as of right now, that's what we're tracking towards for the early May.
I mean, should we have faith in that, or?
Yes, you should have faith in that. Yes.
I had faith in the March 1, and
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we have faith towards. So
and what about the app?
The app is we are tracking to have an app come as well. I don't have a specific time frame on that, but there will be an app developed as well. There will be a similar thing for a consumer. We're tracking, you know, that functionality will be there. So it is on its way. I can say that.
Can you address team events and doubles?
Yep. So team events, you know, we had to make some difficult decisions around the team events. You know, with because of COVID, the complexity of team events and the doubles, a lot of that stuff, again, is a byproduct of the pandemic. Again, some of the sections, depending on where you live, some of the states and sections are more open than others. They're doing more doubles than others. So again, it's something that we had to make the difficult decision early on about that. You know, for this year, we're going to look to revisit those and put those events back on the calendar for next year and really see kind of what they look like. But again, we had to make that difficult decision about the team events early on and doubles. So again, we really feel this is a byproduct of what's going on with COVID, number of bodies, the complexity behind it, the proximity, things of that nature. So,
but you're able to add events to the calendar, just like you're adding the May L1. So is there a chance that maybe some doubles events and maybe some team events could get added in 2021?
Could be. You know, there's a chance that, you know, we're always looking at things that we can do. And so if there's a place on our, you know, that we can add something or add some doubles events and things of that nature, we'll definitely entertain that and share with the consumer once it becomes available. So,
okay. Can we go back to the transparency issue? Because this is another thing that I got multiple questions on. Transparency in player selection for tournaments, transparency in wildcard awards. Because there's such limited data on the USTA ranking website right now, you can't see a player record. It's very difficult to know why one player was chosen over another player. Are we ever going to get transparency with this stuff?
Yes, and I'm glad that you asked that question. Look, the transparency is very important, especially with the selection process. And again, this goes down to the player profiles and having the visibility there for our consumers, so they know exactly what's there. Again, we're tracking. I know we said March, but we're tracking the April May timeframe where that player profile, where that stuff will be there, where that transparency will be there. The rankings, as each week goes by, will get more and more accurate and true. Everybody's playing under the unified system, and we're getting these play opportunities. So our goal is that as this stuff comes up, then that transparency will be there for our consumer, and rightfully so they know exactly why so-and-so got in, and they'll be able to look at it and see for themselves. So that's our goal, and that's what we're working towards.
One last question, because I know you have to hop off. Backdraw points per round. We're seeing so many walkovers in backdraws, and with the limited play opportunities, those players who do commit to playing the backdraw want the opportunity to play matches. I suspect players are pulling out for multiple reasons, one of which is the low points awarded for backdraw matches. Is there a plan to fix that?
So in terms of the players pulling out of backdraw matches, I think there could be a whole host of reasons as to why. It may not just be ranking related.
Sure.
All I can say is that, you know, with all this stuff that's going on, I think it's important to note that, you know, it's March 24th and we're a couple of months into a new system. We are closely monitoring and evaluating all aspects of our system. And if a point table needs to be tweaked or anything needs to be changed or added, moving forward, we're looking at all that stuff. Again, we want what's best for our players and provide play opportunities where we can across the board. And if something is what you described, if something is amiss and we need to tweak or change something, the beauty is we are under one system, so we're going to be able to do that, where we can act nimble and do it quickly. But we want the data and analytics behind it to be sure that we're doing the right decision for all. So again, this is stuff we're looking at closely, and if tweaks and modifications need to be made, then we'll definitely entertain them when we have the proper amount of data to do so. So
got it.
I hope that helps.
It does. It's 8:30. I know you have to run. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to have this up on parentingaces.com today. Tennisrecruiting.net has offered to publish something as well. So we're hoping to get this information out to as many junior tennis families as possible. Additional questions will be answered in writing on parentingaces.com in the article I prepare. So I urge all of you to come to the website and take a look at that. We're not putting it behind our paywall. It will be open and available for anyone to see and to read. So Dan, thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for everything that you do for tennis. So thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
And I also want to thank Dan Pizer and Brendan McIntyre for helping to arrange this. So guys, thank you so much. I know y'all are lurking in the background there, but thanks again. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll check back in soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So I hope that answered some questions. I've got a list of way more questions than we had time to get to in this 30-minute window. Again, I will be seeking answers to those questions and put them in writing in the article that I publish on parentingaces.com. So I urge all of you to check that. And we'll continue to try and get answers for all of you regarding this new system. Please hang in there. Don't give up on tennis. It's a great sport. We want you to keep playing. We want your kids to keep loving it and to keep developing. And we're doing everything we can. Please continue to check parentingaces.com, our socials, our YouTube channel. If you're so inclined, join us as a premium member. We'd love to have you. This is a prototype of some of our new merch. This is not a final version, but come shop on our site. We've got lots of information there for you. And please make sure you're listening to our podcasts as well. Thanks for tuning in this morning. And I'll be back with another episode of the Parenting Aces podcast next week. And again, make sure you're checking parentingaces.com for the latest information. Thanks all.